Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. AITA for kicking out my MIL in the middle of the night. Some context: I'm 32 years old and my wife, 25 years old, have been dating for 5 years, married for 3 years, and are expecting our first child RN. We had our ups and downs when we first got together because I was fresh out of an abusive relationship and I was her first boyfriend. But I had always noticed that she was very self-deprecating and disappointed in herself, and this was only 6 months into our relationship, and it hurt to see her like that because she is an amazing woman. I persuaded her to go to therapy, and she agreed that we would do couple therapy because I had grown to love her in such a short period of time. During therapy, I learned that her parents were narcissists who only loved her brother as their golden child, and when she told me about the abuse she had endured, I honestly cried, and that whole experience made us the strong couple we are today, and the strong woman she is today. To return to the present, my MIL and FIL have improved a bit over the years, which is why we've moved from NC to LC. My MIL came to visit us. They live in another country, since my wife is pregnant, and it has just been a week and my wife's attitude has drastically changed. This occurred at night when we were asleep, when my wife went to get some juice and she was wanting it, and I went to the bathroom, returning to find a glass on the floor and my MIL yelling at my wife. I couldn't control my rage and yelled at her to get out, threatening to call the cops if she didn't, so she reluctantly exited the home. I calmed my wife down, and she told me that her mother-in-law was upset with her because she wanted to drink apple juice, which is terrible for the baby, and that she doesn't deserve to have a kid if she wants to kill it. I'm now getting calls from her family saying I'm in a hole because I kicked her out, and I'd even got a call from my parents saying it was in a hole move and I could have let her stay the night, and I understand I might be in a hole because I kicked her out in the middle of the night, but looking at my wife shaking, it was the best option, so Reddit AITA. Edit: for those who messaged me wondering what sort of apple juice my wife was drinking, she was drinking natural apple juice that she made herself from fresh apples, not market apple juice. Update: thank you to everyone who replied to my post. Thank you to everyone who voted NTAs, since I felt really conflicted for a few days following the event, and I also agree that I should have controlled my anger better. A lot has happened since I posted. My wife and I went to therapy, and she told me that she accepted her mother's invitation to come because she saw how her mother treated her brother's children, and she wanted the same for our son, and she truly believed that her mother had changed for the better. But as our therapist explained, some narcissists refused to change. My wife and I wrote one letter and sent it to every member of her family who told us we were wrong, basically saying that her mother never cared for her and never would, and we didn't want that around our children. And my wife wrote about several instances where she was subjected to emotional abuse and no one did anything except for her grandma, her father's mother. She said that she is tired of always being the larger person, and that she would now be selfish for herself and our kid, and that anybody who disagrees is allowed to sever contact since she would not miss people like that in her life. When her father called and asked what happened, she narrated everything. Her father, being a typical narcissist, tried to gaslight her, but with my support in her therapy, she put her foot down and asked her father if he had ever cared about her because it never felt like they did. She narrated every instance from her childhood to her adulthood where she was subjected to emotional abuse and how her brother always came before her. Her father remained mute during the phone, and in the end, all my wife said was that she doesn't have parents right now and hung up. All my wife did towards the end was weep, and I sobbed with her. I also called my parents and asked how they could not take my side knowing that history, because they really love my wife, which is why it was difficult listening I'm in the wrong, and they told me that it was because her mother had called them in hysterics and told them I was physical with her. I was not, and after learning the truth from me they came over to apologize and my mother held my wife. I am a single child, so I and my wife are everything to them. Story 2. AITA for keeping track of the outfits my friends wear. I'd had a tendency for over 3 years of writing down a description of the attire my friends are wearing. I do this with my buddies since I go to school with them and see them every day throughout the week. With the exception of when school was virtual and throughout summers and breaks, I've done this. I've known some of the same people for a long time, so I have information on some of them going back to when I first began doing this. I do this since it began as an experiment to examine how often individuals repeat their clothing. If I could figure it out, I'd know how often I'm allowed to wear the same clothing. Then it became a habit, and I like doing it. It's interesting to observe how their fashions have evolved over time, and I can occasionally guess what they'll wear based on historical data. I like the regularity of it, as well as going over my results. My pals had no idea I'd done this. Yesterday, I had a friend over, and I went to the restroom while she was left in my room. I maintain all of my data in Google Docs, a separate document for each month's statistics, so that I can quickly copy and paste it into Google Sheets if I wish to build a chart. I had left my computer open, and the document was open in another tab. My companion and I had been viewing YouTube on Original tab. My buddy claims she accidentally closed the tab and discovered my paper as a result. She became agitated after reading a portion of it. She told me it was strange and she's already informed our other pals. They don't give a hoot about it, but they do think it's odd. They have no idea I've been doing this for 3 years. All they know is that I have a document for this month. I'm a bit angry that my buddy looked through one of my documents, but I don't believe she was spying, therefore I'm not furious with her. According to my friend, it is an invasion of privacy and creepy. I don't see why, since it's simply an outfit, not a personal statement. Also, everyone sees her attire when she leaves the home, so would it really make a difference if I recalled all of their outfits? She questioned how I feel that she did this to me, but if it occurred to me, I'd think it's interesting and want to view the data as well. AITA? Update. I blogged about a week ago, and in a nutshell, I documented descriptions of the costumes my friends wore during a 3-year period without informing them, and when one of them found out, she informed the others and was furious. The majority of the comments referred to me as the AH, and I now realize where I went wrong and have chosen to speak to my friends about it. I asked my friends if I could speak to them, and we chatted through FaceTime over the weekend when we were all free, and I explained why I began keeping track of their clothing, how long I've done it for, and why I keep doing it. I apologized for not notifying them and said that I didn't think it would bother them. I told them I'd remove the data if they wanted and that I'd cease doing it if they didn't. On the phone, 2 of my close friends indicated they understood what I was doing better now. They stated they didn't mind that I was photographing their costumes, but they would have liked to know beforehand. I vow to notify them if I do something that I believe would disturb them in the future. They wanted me to show them my data, which I did, and then they requested me to email them a copy since they claimed it was fascinating. My other buddy, the one who discovered the data, expressed some skepticism but thanked me for clarifying. She apologized for responding so violently without giving me the opportunity to explain, and I assured her that it was all right and that I didn't blame her. So sure, we're back on track now. My pals are wonderful individuals who are also a bit odd, which is why we make such good friends. I adore them, and I'm grateful for their patience. Thank you so much to everyone who commented. I much value your advice and ideas. I don't know whether I have ASD, OCT, or anything else, and I can't be tested for any of these disorders till I'm an adult, since it wouldn't be anything my parents would approve of. I've been studying about such things, but I wouldn't call myself a sufferer since I haven't been professionally diagnosed. To those who have labeled me a serial murderer or a stalker, I assure you that I am neither, but you are welcome to choose your own view. I'm not sure how to respond to those who accuse me of being dishonest. People who said they're shocked I had friends, the person who privately messaged me to call me A, and the person who privately messaged me to tell me to K*LL myself, maybe take a step back and analyze your like choices if a stranger's Reddit post made you this angry. LOL to those who liken myself to Dennis Reynolds in a bed. That's all for now, but thank you very much.